Hello, this video is part 2 of factoring. This is where you are not told which method to use and you have to determine which method or methods, sometimes there's many, you can use to solve the problem. On the previous video, it was cut off before I had the time to finish the last step. So we were able to find the factors based on using the pound sign method, and because we had factor at 3 at the beginning, we have to bring it down and put the 3 in the front. That means that the answer is the whole thing that is boxed in green. Not just the factors, but also the number 3 that we had factor originally at the beginning of the problem. Okay, now moving to problem number 2, that would be the one at the bottom. So doing the same idea as we did before, we're going to see if we can factor the greatest monomial factor. That would be step number 1. Let's see, is there any number that 8 and 18 can both be divided by? We will be dividing by 2. That means that we are going to factor a 2. And let's see what we have left. 8 divided by 2 would be 4. We will bring down the letters for now. We will not do anything with those yet. Minus 18 divided by 2. We get 9. That would be the first step if factoring the greatest monomial factor. Now, if you look at the problem, we have on the first term here, we have an x times an x. And on the second one, we do not have any variable. That means we only factored the 2 that we factored at the beginning. So we were able to complete step 1. As I mentioned before, usually if you complete step 1, there's no step 2. In this case, there's no step 2. I'm going to put an X to let you know that there's no step 2. And let's go to step 3. And the first thing to do is to ask ourselves, are there 2 terms? Well, we have the 4x squared and we have the negative 9. So yes, there are 2 terms. We will attempt to use the difference of squares method. And if you remember correctly, the difference of squares method would yield 2 factors as well. So the first thing is to determine, is there a number that when you multiply it times itself will give you 4? And yes, that number is 2 times 2 would give you 4. We have to do the same thing with the x squared. Here on the x squared, is there a number that when you multiply it by itself, do you get x squared? There is. We get x times x. We are done with the first term, and we have to determine if it applies to the second term as well. Is there any number that when multiplied give us 9? If we multiply 3 times 3, that would get us a 9. So we were able to use the difference of squares method. Now the only thing left to do is we will be putting a minus on one of them and a plus on the other one. However, we are not done. We still have to bring down the 2 because we originally factored a 2 at the beginning, so we cannot just leave it floating around there. And this would be the entire problem. Since we already have 2 factors, we cannot factor it any further. So we completed step 3 and we do not have to move on to step 4. Okay. We're going to move to the next problem. Let's see if we can start with step number 1. Can we find a number that divides both 8 and 2? 2 divides both 8 and 2. I will factor out a 2 and I need to figure out what's inside. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. Bring down the x squared for now. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Bring down the plus. Now let's take a look at the letters now. This one has x times x. This one does not have a letter. We are unable to factor this problem any further, and this would be our solution. The reason we are unable to factor this problem any further is because we have to see if there are, even though there are 2 terms, there is a plus in between, not